a different girlfriend and she just gets probably that's very simple.
So you just pop up.
So I just
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Nice you came here so early. No, it was late yesterday night. First of all, I want to introduce myself because everyone was just expecting Paul, maybe. I'm Nilüfer. I'm German blogger, music blogger, culture journalist. And as they planned here this panel, they were talking about maybe it's interesting to have an influencer talking with Paul about his product. And now I'm here. I'm just later we want to talk with together some question and answering. We both just exchange. To kind of exchange as a content producer in the internet. It's for me interesting to have possibilities about licensing my content with music and that stuff. Since it's quite complicated for me, I'm not a person who's into that licensing and that stuff, and I don't have a department people doing that for me. So it was very interesting for me having someone who has a platform which is possibly doing that for me. And yes, Paul, would you like to introduce yourself and then just go in with Lickd?
Sure, thank you. So I'm Paul Sampson. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Lickd, which is the world's first B2C licensing platform for social video. I've been in sync licensing for 13 years in New York, London and LA. And all of that has been business to business. So, I mean, if we take you through this, it's always been a business to business play, right? You've got advertising agencies, film studios, TV networks, and production companies. And even the top three, they're all underpinned by production companies. And when these people create a production, they don't do it without the say-so of a commissioning editor, right? Someone has to commission the show and then they go look for music for the production. And the point is that all my career, it's been business to business, licensing from a business that owns a catalogue to a business that creates content. But there's now a consumer play, right? In that the whole world has a production company in their pocket today. And we don't have mean commissioning editors. We have the world's most generous commissioning editor in YouTube. Every idea gets a green light, right? So we've got a situation whereby there's 2 million production companies, 2 million people, 2 million channels on YouTube that earn money from their content. There's 200 million channels on YouTube, 20 million that are regular and active, 2 million of those that earn money. And the 20 million all need music for their content. And I was watching YouTube one day and I was listening to some terrible music behind a video and I was like, fuck, these people can't license music. How would they license music? You call Warner or you call Sony or BMG and say, hey, I've got a YouTube channel, I've got 10,000 followers, I want to license Stormzy. And no one's going to answer your email, plus the label doesn't have the publishing. And if they did respond to your email and you said, I've got £50, by the time they had a lawyer look at it for 3 seconds, there'll be a negative equity, right? So it's not going to happen. And that's what drove me to create Lickd. I thought to myself, if we can create a pre-cleared commercial music licensing platform, then creators who love music and share it with their friends and listen to it in their cars can finally use the music they love in their videos. So we see here, I mean, no one needs convincing of the smartphone market, but just to give you an idea, there's nigh on 3 billion people in the world of smartphones. Everyone's got one in this room. You've got video recording, you've got editing software, and you've got the platform to upload the video in YouTube, Facebook, and the other platforms. Holiday company called First Choice recently conducted a survey of teenagers and asked them what their preferred career option would be. And 30% of them said YouTuber. the point of this presentation, the point of this talk is to convince rights holders and artists of the value of consumer licensing, because this market isn't going anywhere. When I first looked at this in 2015, there were 1 million channels in the YouTube Partner Program. That's 1 million channels that earn money for their content. Today there's 2 million. This tells you there's going to be 5 million soon. And that's just on YouTube. Facebook just entered this market, but we'll come on to it later on. I think the point is this. If you never heard commercial music on television in your favorite TV shows, you would think that the heads of the broadcast networks and the music industries were dinosaurs. You'd think they were dinosaurs without the foresight, will and vision to ensure that the ongoing democratization of music we've experienced in the last 10, 15 years extended to the primary way you ingest your content, television. Well, for 2 generations now, millennials and Generation Z, that's exactly where we are. Because they watch all their content online, and there is no legal music licensing solution for these social platforms. So let's just take a closer look. By the end of 2019, they estimate that 80% of all global internet traffic will be online video. 80%. Online video consumption is increasing 250% year on year. The top 1,000 channels on YouTube publish 50 videos a month. There was a survey of 6.1 billion YouTube channels, YouTube videos, analysed by a company called PEX, and 84% of them had 10 seconds of music or more. Now, if you look at this top stat, the 80% of all internet traffic is online video, and 84% of that 80% has music in it, then you can surmise that by 2020, almost 70% of all internet traffic will be video containing music. And there's no legal licensing solution for it. Does everyone here know what Content ID is? Yeah. Hands up if you do. No? Okay. So look, Content ID is YouTube's audio recognition software, right? Who here is a rights holder? Okay. So as a rights holder, you can go into YouTube, create an account with Content ID, and upload your music. Think of Content ID as Shazam for YouTube, right? As an internal software. And you can say, if you hear my music being used in anyone's videos, I want you to do one of 4 things on that video. Either block the video, take it down, track it so I can keep an eye and I'll make a decision later, or monetize that video. Which means, if that video gets 1 million views, the person that put up that video would be due a check for, say, $5,000. Monetizing the video presumes that person used your music without a legal license, and you're saying to them, you're not getting that money, I'm getting it, right? And so what's happened is the music industry has forced creators into what I call production music Stockholm syndrome. They are held captive by production music. If I put up a video and I use Coldplay and I get 1 million views and I'm going to get a check for $5,000, and it never comes. And then I read the emails I got from YouTube that told me I had a copyright claim from Content ID and my $5,000 went to Warner. What am I going to do in my next video? Now I've got a following. I'm not going to use a major song again, right? I'm going to use something that isn't in Content ID, some production music that no one's heard of, but it's not what I want to use. So the idea of Lickd is that we built software that interacts with Content ID. If you create an account with Lickd as a YouTuber, and you license a song from a label or a publisher, and then you put that song in your video, Content ID will try and claim the video, try and take away your money. Our software will stop it, slap it on the wrist and say, leave it alone, this is one of Lickd's users, and they paid a legal fee for the use of this song. And the label will get paid, instead of taking your money, they get a percentage of the license fee that we charge them. Using music any other way on YouTube will result in a creator losing their money. Ad revenue, this claiming system on YouTube, is not sustainable. It's not a sustainable way of remunerating your content online anymore. So YouTube started in 2005. By 2015, it was 10 years old, And it had gone from 0 to 300 hours of video being uploaded to YouTube every minute of the day. 10 years to get to 300 hours a minute. 2 years later, it was at 600 hours. That's that blue hockey stick growth, right? The green line is ad revenue. If anyone's ever worked in sales, you have to bring in 20% more revenue than you did last year, right? And if you hit 20%, everyone's very happy. Same at Google. We made $1 billion in advertising last year. This year we want 1.2 billion. Now, if they achieve 20% increase in ad revenue, but the amount of content that is split over has increased by 100%, then the money for each video is going down. This is what the value gap is. Who knows about the value gap, right? Yeah. So the value gap is the difference between the revenue for one stream of music on video on YouTube versus the revenue for one stream of a song on Spotify. Those two lines and this bottom one, which is ad revenue per video going down, shows you that the ad revenue, the value gap, is getting worse and worse every passing day. And so our argument to the music industry is this. You have this fight with YouTube about the value gap, and it's fair and it's right, and we want to help you. But first things first, if you want more money from YouTube, you should be available to all YouTubers, right? 100% of the revenue coming from YouTube to the music industry is coming from 90% of YouTube. If we can create the other 10% as a market, which is what we're doing with creators, the most influential people a music industry label marketing head could ever wish to access is blocked from using your music. So let's open that up. So we're creating a new economy for artists and musicians around the world to create an access point for creators to use their music. We call this market CGC. Everyone's heard of UGC, right? UGC revenue is the 100% of revenue coming from 90% of YouTube. If you put up a video on YouTube, or if I do, it's my mum's birthday, blowing out the candles, and I send it to her sister in Australia because she couldn't make it. I might use Coldplay. And if YouTube or Warner takes my 0.0002 pence from the 20 views on that video, I could not care less, take it. But if you want my $5,000, no way. So CGC is creator-generated content, and it's a new market for rights holders, and it adds value on top of existing UGC. So CGC on top of UGC creates the whole revenue stream from social. Everything I've just told you is about one platform, YouTube. There's 3 more coming. So I referenced this by saying welcome player 2, right? Facebook just entered this market. It paid $500 million to shut up the music industry for 2 years. It's quite a disgusting deal if you ask me, but essentially they offered the music industry $500 million as a one-off payment for 2 years grace. We don't have content ID. We can't report music usage to you. But we want people to put videos on our platform, and we don't want to wait because we're Facebook and we're spoiled fucking brats, right? So they will offer the music industry this money. The music industry will split that money between the 4 big companies, like Sony, Warner, Universal, BMG, and then all the independents. So people can't be earning more, at best, than $80 million if you're a major. Now that has to cover the master, the publishing. It has to cover 2 billion users on Facebook, 1 billion users on Instagram. And it's a 2-year deal. So when in 2 years' time, Facebook finally reports, well, this is how much music was used, and now you should pay your artist based on these reports from the 500 million, what's going to happen? Who's got an idea what's going to happen? The value gap's going to get deeper, right? When they work out what 500 million split between 3 billion users on those 2 platforms works out over 2 years, it's going to work out less per stream than YouTube's paying. And so when you aggregate the social platforms using music, we're in a really bad place, which is why we're creating this legal licensing solution around it. These can't be the only options, right? At the moment on YouTube, every single usage of music that's not through Lickd is piracy. It's unlicensed music, it's an illegal usage, and people are just claiming the money back. And on Facebook, it's hush money. It's go away and leave us alone while we infringe your copyright, and we'll work this out in 2 years' time. So we created Lickd, and this is just a 2-minute, if that, video of exactly why we did it and what we're doing.
The music industry is growing again for the first time ever. YouTube has just announced an impressive statistical tender as a strategy method of its business model and contributions to the video sharing giant's chief business officer wrote in the company's blog post. In the last 12 months, YouTube has paid out over $1 million to the music industry.
It's just, it makes a massive difference. Music is everything. All my favourite films, the soundtrack is like what can push it from being a 6 to a 10.
So that gives you an idea of what we're doing. We're going to have a little chat about any questions you might have, and then I'd like to at some point show you some of the data that we have from the users that create accounts with Lickd, because not only can we create a new revenue stream for rights holders in terms of licensing and legal licensing, but like I said before, when a label wants to make a song a hit, right? If you're the head of marketing at a department, you call your local marketing head and you say, lobby the Spotify playlister you need. Call him on his mobile or his office number or email him. You do the same with the radio pluggers. You have their office address, their mobile and their landline numbers. But there is no tool when it comes to YouTube. And these people, these influencers, are gatekeepers to the exact audience that labels want to market music to. It's 13 to 30-year-olds watching these videos. So with the data we're getting, through the permissions these creators give us when they create accounts with us, we're going to be building a marketing tool, which I'll show you later on, which will allow labels to find the right creators in the right territories with the right audience that like music from a specific genre or artist style. And then you can access them to publish your content.
Okay.
I'm finished.
You should give me a sign if this
Okay.
was a sign. So,
Okay.
thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Everyone's talking about in the whole industry, which is going on with the data, about the industry 4.0.
Right.
So, what does this mean for the music industry? And what are the challenges for the music industry in 2018 to come to that industry 4. Let's start with 4.0.
Right. Okay, so I mean, it's really wide-ranging, really, but I'm not sure I'd get many arguments in this room if I said that when it comes to adopting new technology, the music industry is only slightly ahead of the Amish, and they resist change at almost at almost every point, right? So they resisted Napster. I understand Napster is illegal, but then iTunes comes along and legalizes the whole thing in a not dissimilar situation to what we're trying to achieve. And they said, no, we're not going to let you do it. We're big brands in our own right. we're going to create Warner MP3 and Universal MP3 and Sony MP3, and no one wants to go and no one knows who their favourite artist is signed to. We might, but my cousin who's 14 doesn't know who.
Me neither.
Right.
I'm a content producer. I'm just not about that stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm a content producer, and as I said, I don't have the department or people. I don't know the people really.
Exactly
who's
right.
doing that.
And they did the same with streaming, right? The value gap is a problem between YouTube and Spotify. In this scenario, in that argument, YouTube is the devil and Spotify is an angel. But who remembers when Spotify started? Spotify was the devil, right? The royalties were going to kill the music industry and we had no future if this is the way we were going. And now the music industry is experiencing growth for the first time in 10 years, largely because of streaming. And the labels have all got shares in Spotify and they're working out how they can get playlisted more and I want more streams and how can you get more people signed up to Spotify. So the challenges the music industry will always face with innovation is, are we willing to create new models and new contracts and sets of rights? So one of the issues we've had is speaking to publishers and they'll say, well, we can't possibly do this because our contracts with our artists stipulate they have sync approvals. And I can't call them 1,000 times a week with £7 from a YouTuber or £50 or £100 from a YouTuber. And I'm saying to them, well, okay, well then let's stop. I told you last night, one of them I almost walked out the room. I said, well, if we're never going to change the contracts, there's no conversation to be had. Is this the last set of contracts we will ever draw? No. The sync approvals are there so that an artist, it's actually there to protect the artist against the label or protect the artist against the publisher. Because you might have a vegan writer who doesn't want his label or his publisher licensing his song to McDonald's or Burger King or someone else. Without approval rights, he can't stop that happening. The approval rights are not there to stop the fans of an artist celebrating an artist and saying, this is my favourite song and I want it behind my video where I talk to my fans. So they have to be more open in their and willing to work with companies that innovate. The industry itself doesn't innovate, right? The labels, the institutional industry doesn't innovate. It's the startups around it. I think that they would benefit from having more of a sandbox arrangement where they could say to startups, here is a trial set of music rights for 2 years, right? You can sign one contract, it's a one-pager, you have access to this content, play around with it, build your proof of market, and then come back to us and we'll sign rights for the whole catalogue or 3 years. But it's been a real slog getting the large labels to come on board, and we're getting there. We're at contract now with Universal and Warner and BMG. They're not signed. It's been many months, and it's highly frustrating. But I think they, as an industry, they have to get their heads around how can they keep incentivizing streaming, make sure they're not too invested in any one platform, but they also keep one eye on, well, what is the next set of rights that we can exploit on behalf of artists to make the whole industry more profitable.
And the whole soul of this thing is data.
Yeah.
When we speak about influencers, about streaming, behind all of this is data. You use data to create profiles and do your, as you want to show us later, in the background, your ranking list and demographic science and this. First of all, I just want to know how the data can be used intelligent and fair for all of us.
Sure. Okay. So as an influencer,
As an influencer,
As a
label, I think it's going about to be balanced. I think the value gap is showing that things are very unbalanced in this business.
Sure.
For labels, for artists,
Yeah.
for content producer, and the one who's just making profit of it.
Okay.
And, you know, and how can data be used for all of us to get balanced?
So the only data that we collect is on the influencer side. So I'm not going to go through the front end of the website because it's not a pitch, right? But essentially when someone creates an account with us, they OAuth sign in through Google. And at that point, they give us permission to view their video statistics, their channel statistics, their audience analysis. How old is their audience? What gender is their audience? And where in the world is their audience? And we would use that privately to enable the music industry to market new releases better. If we look at any one creator, so this, let's not focus on who this is, but this is a beauty blogger called Amy. When she, you're going to come to the pricing later, right? Okay, so let's go to her statistics. When they create an account with us, we are tracking their subscriber counts at all times. So she's got just over 1 million subscribers. Her view count, so she's at 136 million views almost. There we go. Total viewership, she has 1 million subscribers. And then we can see the age of her audience. 50% of it is between 18 and 34. And then we can see further that that is a 76 to 24 split between female and male. So this is information that we can, hang on, we'll carry on. So we can see that her videos are in comedy and entertainment. And then we can see...
she's a beauty blogger.
Well, sorry, I got that. That's my mistake. She's obviously in entertainment, yeah. And then we can see where her audience is coming from. So 35 million of her views have come from the US and then the UK and so on. Now, this is information that we can provide to the music industry.
Hello?
Not to give them access to that information, but to provide a tool that mines that information, right? So what I spoke about before, and I'm going to turn the volume off on this, but if you are a marketing department, at some point later this year, you'll be able to come to the website, to the back end, and you'll be able to enter the genre of your new release, right? So I've got this indie rock album or indie rock single that we're releasing from an unknown artist, and I want to get maximum exposure. I've called Spotify, I've called the radio plugger, but now I need the right influencer to promote the song. So you'd say I've got an indie rock artist, we think we're targeting an 18 to 25-year-old age group, we think it's predominantly a male audience, and we're releasing it worldwide. Now that might say Germany or Europe or North America. And then you would search our user base up here. And then it will return for you the creators that have the most perfect fit for you. So you'll see this lady here licenses music from Lickd predominantly in indie. She's got the right demographic by age, the right demographic by gender. She's got a worldwide audience and subscriber base of 12.2 million. So you would then be able to connect with that influencer. Again, encrypted essentially, you'd just be messaging her through our platform. It wouldn't be a one-on-one chat. But you could say, we're releasing this song on Lickd. If you wanted to use it, we'd offer it to you for free. You wouldn't have to pay a license fee. And then we both benefit. You might say, my artist is touring in your country. Do you want to interview them on your channel? But that's essentially the way we can use data that's being offered to us. And it's a unique set of rights, of data, sorry. And the ability to view it through a music lens is what makes it important, right? Mm-hmm. Being able, there's lots of influencer search companies out there, and you can say, I need this audience in this territory in this language. But they won't be able to tell you what sort of music they typically use in their videos. Mm. So for the music industry, we obviously want to take YouTube data and apply a music lens to it and then provide that feedback back to the industry. Mm. In terms of security, music industry won't have rights to look at everything I just showed you in terms of the audience actual data. We keep that private for the creators. Okay. And we're not allowed to sell that. We wouldn't ever dare sell it. But we can monetize it in order to get better offers for the influencers. That's the buy-in. They're saying, you can access the data in order to pitch me to the music industry so that I can get free use of music or work with bigger artists.
Coming to your platform, and you as grounder of the platform. Yeah. What about the competitors right now on the market? Are there many of these platforms, or is it a unique?
There's no platform that does what we do. In as much as we're commercial music, going after small, mid-size and large labels. I mentioned we're in contract with all Universals and the Warners, and it's claims free. So the secret sauce behind everything we've done that makes it work is that software called Vouch, which is briefly mentioned in the video. But essentially, it literally vouches for our users when Content ID tries to claim the video. My whole team had to take exams at YouTube to understand how Content ID works and then build software around it. And they were the first ones that have been able to manage that. There are claims-free music solutions out there, but they're in production music. Just to give you an idea, I spoke before about there being 2 million creators earning money from YouTube. That's 2 million creators or channels that won't use commercial music. On average, a creator publishes 4.7, let's call it 5 videos a month. So we're talking, if I said to you as rights holders that wanted more sync, that there was 120 million more opportunities out there, you'd bite your hand off, right? So, Epidemic Sounds. Who knows Epidemic Sounds? I know you do, yeah. So, it's a royalty-free production music catalogue. They have 400,000 YouTubers signed to them. That's 25% of the 2 million. That's the biggest incumbent. And no one is writing online, God, I love Epidemic Sounds. I love the way that they got a no-name composer to rip off my favourite band, right? No one's playlisting Epidemic Sounds except for Epidemic Sounds, and no one's sharing it with their friends. It's not the music they love. I used the analogy before that this is production music Stockholm syndrome, which is you feel empathy for your captor because they treat you well. Well, in this instance, Epidemic doesn't give them a claim because it's not in Content ID. But in any hostage situation, however much they feel empathy for their captor, you release them back to their family and they run like the wind. You want to give your mum a cuddle, right? Well, in this analogy, the commercial music industry is the family. And what we're doing is releasing these creators that have been held captive in production music back out into the wild and saying, find your favourite artists, license them, be complicit in a legal situation, and let's prove that we can earn more money for the music industry and everyone wins.
And let's talk about money.
Yeah.
Let's come
Okay.
to the prices. Me as a content producer, I would like to know what should I pay and how do I pay and how do you make your prices?
Okay. So, well, I'll tell you what, I'll come back to the back end in a minute. So, let me show you. If I log in, you'll see these prices, right? These figures says average views per video. We call that an AVV, an average video viewership number. When I create or log into my account, you'll see I have to go to Google. I select the email address linked to my Spotify account, and then I allow Lickd access to my data. And now it's going to log me into the front end, right? So it's now importing all of my YouTube channel information.
May I ask a question? The first step is signing up.
Yes.
Does it cost something for me or is
No.
it free?
Signing up is free.
For everyone, for
Yes.
the creators, for
Yes,
labels,
correct.
everyone can just
Correct.
start free.
Absolutely right.
Okay.
You'll see now I'm logged in here. Yeah? Now, on my YouTube channel, I have 0 videos, so I have 0 views. You'll see that it's analysing a 90-day period, the most recent 90 days. April 13th is today, back to January 13th. And what it does is it asks you, how many views did your channel get in that 90 days? And how many videos did it take you to get there? So if we keep it simple and say I had 1 million views and I published 10 videos, I'm averaging 100,000 views per video. If we go back to the bottom here, if I was averaging 100,000 views per video, I'd pay 11 euros per song. And that would be a worldwide perpetual license for the use of that song. If next month I've released 5 videos in the interim and I'm now averaging 1 million views per video, the next time I log in, I won't pay £11 for a song, I'll pay 110 euros for a song. In the same way that the music industry charges TV channels based on their audience size, I argued before that this is TV for online, right? The TV is online for 2 generations. So we're doing the same thing. How big is your audience share? How much money are you earning as a result? And we budget around 15% of what we estimate the take-home revenue is for a creator as a music budget, essentially. So if I take you into the back end, we'll go back to Amy. Let's go to the overview. Aye. Oops.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah. Okay, so let's look at her overview. You'll see this is the 3 months, right? This is today, back 1 month. She did 307,000 views across one video, so that's her average. The month before, she did 711,000 views across 3 videos, averaging 237,000. And then we do the same for the month after before that, that's the 90 days, 416,000 per video. And we aggregate those numbers and it gives us a figure of 320,000. That puts her in the 100 to 350,000 view rate card, and she'll pay 40 GBP or 50 euros, whatever it might be. So it's very much everything we've done in order to try and win rights holders over is to try and base it on a model they've already agreed to, which is television. Because any argument they come back to us with, we can say, well, you've approved this once. We just need to understand new media. So there may be a clawback point with the biggest artists in the world, where they say, all right, if a video outperforms its average video, the channel's AVV by 20 times, then the label might want a relicense, right? Or to start claiming from that point onwards. But at the moment, that's not the case. At the moment, you pay once, you get your license, and no matter how your video performs, that's what you're getting. For the rights holders in the room, the breakage, the way we've priced it in each band is that the breakage works in the rights holders' favour 55% of the time. So 55% of our users are paying over 15% for the use of a song because they're not going to hit the full viewership of that band. Does that make sense? Yeah? You're paying for, because I sit between 0 and 50,000 views per video, but I'm actually averaging 20,000, right? So that 30,000 is the breakage. You're earning money on that without there being the viewership. Yeah.
So I'm finished with my questioning.
Okay.
And maybe we come up to the audience.
Yeah.
If you have, or do you want?
Well,
say
just one
something,
last thing actually, I can show you on the
Yes.
channel that what we can see is, again, when they create an account with us, we can see their entire video publishing history. So with Amy, these are links to all her YouTube channels, and there's hundreds of them. What isn't, you can't see on the screen right now. Let me see if I can move that over. No. Okay, that's a shame. But on the last column, which is cut off on the screen, is the uploaded date. So we'll run all the dates that she uploaded a video through a calendar script. And it tells us which day of the week she will typically publish a video. So let's say after 3 months, we'll know that Amy has only ever licensed indie folk and indie rock. So we're going to pitch her indie folk and indie rock in the same way that Spotify does recommended for you, right? Mm. When we do that, there's no point doing it on a Monday morning across all of our channels because she publishes on a Sunday. And YouTube rewards creators for publishing regularly, right? They want YouTube to be a TV network. They want people to know that every Sunday, if I subscribe to Amy, I'm going to get my Sunday evening video. So when we pitch new music from rights holders like yourselves to Amy, it will come on a Friday and Saturday because that's when she's in the edit. That's when she'll be thinking about music, that's when she'll need it, and that's when we can have the most impact. So essentially the data we're collecting is a really powerful marketing tool down the line for labels. But yeah, that's it, done.
Any questions? Yes.
Go ahead.
How a YouTuber like you, for example, can search for the song? Do you have some kind of search engine, some library for the guys like you?
Sure. So when you get to the site, you can either search by artist, or you can search by genre, or you can search by theme. These themes map directly to YouTube's video genre classifications, right? So we saw with Amy, she was in comedy and entertainment. So when you click one of the, if you don't know what you're looking for, you can say, well, I've got an entertainment channel. We're collecting data from YouTube as to what genres of music are being claimed against which themes of channels, right? So my team could tell you, entertainment, well, YouTube or labels are claiming against entertainment channels, predominantly it's grime and R&B. And for beauty, it will be indie folk and acoustic rock, right? And so that's how we're creating the playlists that sit behind here. Similarly, if you go to, let's search for an artist. So this is Fred V in graphics from Hospital Records. You'll see here we've got top tracks, but beneath top tracks everything is set out by release, right, by album or EP. So the top tracks changes on a weekly basis. We take information from which of this artist's songs are being claimed the most this week on YouTube and being streamed the most on Spotify, and we aggregate that information and then we change the top tracks. Because if someone's going to an artist page to license it for YouTube, it's probably a song that's performing well somewhere at that moment. And so we deliver that music straight at the top of the page so they're not having to search through releases. So yes, artist search. I mean, the artist search is a bit tricky without having all the music in the world. There's a lot of, sorry, we don't have that artist, right? But we put it front and center because we wanted creators to understand when they come to our site versus Epidemic Sounds, when they go, I need a trombone and I need 120 BPM or whatever it might be, that they can just go, I want Fred V in graphics, or I want Rothwell or Royal Prospect or whatever artist it might be. We split that with the labels and publishers. They get the lion's share of anything we charge. Because it's a sync, and this might change down the road, but they would split that share 50-50, right? So the publisher is probably the best deal from any DSP for a publisher because they're not getting 12.5%, they're getting 50% of their share. The performance, however, is another matter. If we can generate more usages of copyright music on YouTube, and we provide the PROs with that information, then they can go back to YouTube, or the labels go back to YouTube and say, actually, there's 30% more use of my music than you reported to me. And so of the pot of performance royalties you're paying out to the PRO, I want my share now. So hopefully it will be an increase in revenue for the rights holders, yeah. There is, so the website, by the way, the website is not what's listed in this. They got it wrong twice in there. They've got two websites under my name and neither of them are mine. I
tried to log in and it's made by content producers and not by music, I believe, to do the login in the website.
The login is for content creators, yeah. So you can find, in contact, there's a submissions email. I can't find it right now.
You need a bigger button, I think, for that.
Yes, yeah, that's fair. So music@lickd.co or submissions@lickd.co. But give me your information afterwards and I'll give you someone's email to get in touch with. There's a company in LA, another startup that I met with recently called Orpheum, ORFIUM, and they are testing their product at the moment against Content ID, and they believe that they've got a 50% improved results rate over Content ID. So that they think Content ID is essentially missing 30% of usages. In anything where there's prohibition, there's a black market, right? You ban alcohol, you create prohibition, and that's what happens. In YouTube world, creators, if you go on these forums, you'll see them tipping each other. If they're not saying use Epidemic Sounds or Audio Network, they're saying speed the song up 15% and it will beat Content ID. When the music industry accepts a deal like it did with Facebook, I understand why they did it. Who doesn't want a share of $500 million at year's end, right? If you're the head of business development, you go, well, that's it, I'm 80 million short for my target for the year, I'll take that deal and I've hit my target. But it will complain in 2 years. I think the software we've built that clears a claim for our users, let's use one example, right? We don't have this song, but so everyone knows it, let's imagine Single Ladies by Beyonce. And you come on my platform and you license it, and you upload it on a video to YouTube. For my software to clear your usage, it has to review every single usage of Single Ladies everywhere on YouTube. No, that wasn't one of our users. No, that wasn't one of our users. No, that wasn't one of our users. That's one of our users. Clear the claim. No, that's not one of our users, and so on. What that means is we're collecting data on every single usage of a song that we represent. At the end of 2019, the music industry would try and renegotiate again with YouTube. And at the beginning of 2020, it would do the same with Facebook. So there's a crux point approaching where we might find in February 2020 that no one can upload a song to YouTube or Facebook because they didn't renew. They will renew and they will complain about it. And the reason that they accept those terms is because there's no alternative. It's either no money from YouTube or take it or leave it. If our software can do that, we can empower the music industry to actually say, well, I have all my music with this platform that has the legal rights to license it onto your service. And because of the way its software works, it knows when anyone anywhere in the world is trying to upload a video with our song in it. So if I switch everything to block tomorrow and I turn everything off, we would know all these people got their video blocked. We would know how big their channel is. We would know what their channel ID is, which is the internet version of their home address, right? And we can say, put a leaflet through their door and say, hey, your video got blocked because there's a dispute between the music industry and YouTube. But they gave us the legal right. So if you want your video to be published, here, pay 30 pence or whatever the difference is in the value gap. And then your video will be published. I can't see the whole music industry doing that. I can't see them risking $800 million of revenue a year between them from YouTube. But it would empower them. They can go into that negotiation with something in their pocket, and that might help close the value gap. So, look, with any luck, we'll be in business for many years to come. But we'd like to scale the business and scale the catalogue and our user base to get the music industry to a point at the end of 2019 where it can say, thank you, we can now go in and negotiate on behalf of artists and rights holders harder with YouTube and try and close that gap. You can't access the creator's information except through that front end tool, which isn't built yet. But you will get reporting on every video that you were used in, right? So if someone uses your song, obviously we report that usage. But eventually there'll be a rights holders dashboard where you can say, well, I had 20 licenses this month and it was all the same song and we had a reach of 20 million in audience, right? And you'll be able to see the channels that license, you can watch the videos, and you'll be able to keep track of how big that audience is growing on a daily basis. You might work out, actually, this user keeps using this artist. And so I might want to go to Lickd to see if I can do something. Maybe they should interview each other or... So yes, it's not right now. We launched in November in beta. It's live. It's public. So a lot of these tools we're raising money now to try and build out. But yes, you'll be able to see data on the usages of your own catalogue. The creator is and that's what that dashboard is for. Is for you to say, I have another artist of that genre. I mean, Peter is a rights holder that's with us at the moment. You had your first reporting. What were your thoughts on it? We're doing deals right now with multi-channel networks that they aggregate and house YouTubers, right? We've just done one with a Spanish language multi-channel network called TubiTube, and our service goes live for their creators in 2 weeks' time. So it's a perfect time for me to be here and be speaking to Spanish language and Hispanic rights holders because more of that music will be pertinent for them.
I'm going to give you a contact of the biggest platform in Portugal. He's not here. He doesn't know about you.
Okay.
I'm sure he's gonna...
No one does. That's why I'm here. Thank you, everyone.